Jack Welch has done a lot of work and a lot of study on this process, the translation process, and how long it took and what days they're likely to be translating. And it's fascinating when you look at this situation. Picture Oliver Cowdery coming, and the first item of business that he helps Joseph with is to write a contract for his father-in-law, Isaac Hale, Emma's parents, to say, I will repay you for this land and this home and the spring and the barn that's on Isaac Hale's property that Joseph and Emma are now living in. So that was the first thing Oliver helped him do. And then they began the translation process. Can you imagine being Oliver Cowdery, having heard about this, when the first things that you hear fall from the lips of the prophet as you're scribing for him are probably the first few chapters that we have in our Book of Mosiah. Picture your introduction to the translation of the Book of Mormon being King Benjamin's speech and the precursors to King Benjamin's speech. Now, picture being Oliver Cowdery in his situation where he's a school teacher. He doesn't have a lot of money, and he is a little concerned about his physical well-being, and now he's living in the home with a poor farmer who's in debt with a wife, and they're struggling with money. And picture some of these words in their historical context, what it might have meant for those two men performing this work, and Emma, who's listening in much of the time in the room on what's going on. Listen to these words from Mosiah 2. Start in verse 23. Now in the first place he hath created you, and granted unto you your lives, for which ye are indebted to him. And secondly, he doth require that ye should do as he hath commanded you, for which if ye do, he doth immediately bless you, and therefore he hath paid you, and ye are still indebted unto him, and are and will be forever and ever. Therefore, of what have ye to boast? Beautiful words that apply to their situation. But then, at a much deeper level, can you imagine what it might have felt like for Oliver Cowdery to be dipping that quill in ink and listening to these words as he then puts them to paper in our dispensation? Words like these: For behold, the time cometh, and is not far distant, that with power the Lord omnipotent, who reigneth, who was and is from all eternity to all eternity, shall come down from heaven among the children of men, and shall dwell in a tabernacle of clay. And then go on with this description of Jesus. Can you imagine how sweet it must have been to Oliver to hear these words and to record them as he realizes very early on what he is now a part of, this unfolding of the restoration of the gospel and through this translation process of the Book of Mormon.